Hello, my name is Brant Hunt, and my channel simply is Discerning What is True. I'm going to read the last chapter of Sacred Geometry tonight, which is called simply The Genesis of Cosmic Volume. This is chapter. The book was written by Robert Lawler. Robert Lawler was involved with this, quite involved, and unfortunately, he is a couple of years ago he passed away, no longer living. He spent a lot of his time here in the United States, even though I think he was involved. I think he was born in Britain, but I'm not absolutely sure about that. But I wanted to begin this chapter because I wanted to be doing it actually earlier this week, and it seemed like everything came up, and I wasn't able to do it. So I wanted to read this particular book to you guys, the last part of it. That is chapter 10. It's called The Genesis of Cosmic Volumes. Check something here out. The perspective of volume offers yet another metaphor for the original and ever continuum creative act of the materialization of spirit and the creation of form. The very ancient creation myth coming from Heliopolis, that is in Egypt, gives an example of this mode of envisioning. Nun, N-U-N, the cosmic queen, represents pure, undifferential spirit dash space without limits or form. It is prior to any extension, any specific, any God. It is pure potentiality. By the seed or will of the Creator, who is implicit within this nun, the undifferential space is impelled to contrast or coagulate itself into volume. Thus, Atum, that is A-T-U-M, the Creator, first creates himself or distinguishes himself from the undefinable none by volumization in order that creation might begin. What form then might this first volume have? What indeed are the most essential volumetric forms? There are 5 volumes which are thought to be the most essential because they are the only volumes which have all edges and all interior angles equal. They are the tetrahedron, the octahedron, the cube, the dodecahedron, and the icosahedron, and are the expressions in volume of the triangle, the square, and the pentagon. 3, 4, 5. All other regular volumes are only triplications of these 5. These 5 solids are given the name Platonic, end quote, because it is assumed that Plato has these forms in mind in Timaeus, the dialogue in which he outlines a cosmology through the metaphor of planar and solid geometry. In this dialogue, which is one of the most thoroughly Pythagorean of his works, he established that the 4 basic elements of the world are earth, air, fire, and water, and that these elements are each related to one of the solid figures. Tradition, that is, associates the cube with earth, the tetrahedron with fire, the octahedron with air, and the icosahedron with water. Plato mentions, that is, a certain 5th composition used by the Creator in the making of the universe. Thus, the dodecahedron came to be associated with the 5th element, which is called ether, and that is spelled A-E-T-H-E-R, or prana, P-R-A-N-A. Plato's fabricator of the universe created order from the primordial chaos of these elements by means of the essential forms and numbers. The ordering according to number and form on a higher plane resulted in the intended disposition of the 5 elements in the physical universe. The essential forms and numbers then act as an interface between the higher and lower realms. They have in themselves and through their analogies with the elements, the power to shape the material world. As Gordon Plummer, Plummer, notes in his book, The Mathematics of the Cosmic Mind, the Hindu tradition associates the icosahedron with Purusha. The Purusha is the seed image of Brahma, the superior creator himself, and as such, this image is the map or plan of the universe. Purusha is analogous to the cosmic man, and that the anthropocosmic of the Western esoteric tradition. Icosahedron is the obvious choice for this first form, since all the other forms, or volumes, I should say, arise naturally out of it. So the tetrahedron is basically a circle with basically a triangle, but it actually has 3-sided deal here. So you're looking at it, and it's basically just it's just giving you an example here. So the 5 regular Platonic or Platon solids. So the tetrahedron is 1, the octahedron is 2, the cube is 3, the icosahedron 4, and the dodecahedron is 5. Now let's go back here and see something else and make sure I find where I was at. In other words, Plato mentions in a certain 5th composition used by the creator in the making of the universe. So with fire, the octahedron with air, and the icos with water. Let's see, I'm trying to dodecahedron came to be associated. Okay, so the dodecahedron is the 5th element. Okay, and the way I understand it, when Phil Langdon shared this information with me, when you have all 4 lined up in the correct way, in your own life, so to speak, it produces the 5th element, which is called ether or heaven within yourself. So the 5 regular tetrahedron or Platonic solids were known and worked with well before Plato's time. Key Critchlow, which is a mentor actually with Robert in the past time, and he was actually involved in Africa in the past also. He spent time there. And he also spent time, I think, in making a particular certain type. He was a what you call a builder, so to speak. And he went to, I think it's India, and developed a medical facility in a different way, quite different. Anyway, his book is called Time Stands Still, presents convincing evidence that they were known to Neolithic peoples of Britain at least 1,000 years before Plato. This is founded on the existence of a number of spiritual stones kept in the, I'm going to see if I can say it correctly, Ashmolean. It's in Oxford, Ashmolean Museum at Oxford, of a size one can carry in the hand. These stones were carved into the protective, or what I call precise, find it here, precise, where was that here? Sorry about that, folks. I'm trying to get this thing to work the way I want it to do. It's not working the way I want it to do. Makes it a little harder for me to read it when it's in quote unquote so bright. But when it gets too dark, it's kind of also impossible to deal with also. Let's see where it's at. Okay, so at least 1,000 years before Plato. This is found on the existence of a number of spiritual stones kept in the Ashmolean Museum at Oxford, of a size one can carry in their hand. These stones were carved into the precise geometric spherical versions of the cube, the tetrahedron, the octahedron, the icosahedron, and the dodecahedron. Sorry, I messed up on that one. I butchered. As well as some additional compound and semi-irregular solids, such as the cube octahedron and the icosahedron. Critchlow says we have are objects clearly indicative of a degree of mathematical ability so nigh to Neolithic man. So in other words, where people are saying these people in the past were stupid or not very smart are actually not correct. Okay, this is just how, how the present, so to speak, thinks it's actually superior, and a lot of times simply we're not quite so superior as we think. So he's a Keith Critchlow. I keep saying that wrong word. Critchlow, or mathematical historian. He specialized on the possible relationship of these objects to the building of the great astronomic stone circle at the same epoch in Britain. The study of the heavens is, after all, a spherical activity needing an understanding of spherical coordinates. If the Neolithic inhabitants of Scotland had constructed what they call maze, M-A-E-S, how, before the pyramids were built by the ancient Egyptians, why could they not be studying the law of three-dimensional coordinates? It is not more than a coincidence that Plato, as well as Ptolemy, Kepler, and Al-Kindi, attributed cosmic significance to these figures. Concurrently, Lucy Lamy, Lamy, in her forthcoming book on the Egyptian system of measure, gives proof of the knowledge of the five solids in the Egyptian Old Kingdom. Workbook number 9, the Platonic solids. In a drawing 9.1, the simultaneously generation of the Platonic solids within the icosahedron, draw a circle with a radius of OA and inscribe hexagon 2.5 of side OA. OA is an A is apple equals 1. Draw vertical diameter AB. Mark each apex of the hexagon with numbers 1 to 6 and draw in the three diagonals 1 to 4, 2 to 5, and 3 to 6. Now, this is kind of hard to look at. I mean, how you to see, but you have to think about it, how to draw this thing here. With the midpoint C as center and radius C, draw arc to intersect radius at O minus 2 at point 11. Line CA equals square 5 over 2. And with divide radius of 0 minus 2 into the proportions 1/pi and 1/pi squared. Draw a circle with radius, what we call O to 11, and at the places where the circle intersects the radii of the hexagon, mark a point and designate with a number 7 to 12. Drawing 9.2, points 7, 8, and 9 from one of the 20 faces of the icosahedron. This face, like the other 19, is an equilateral triangle shown here in true proportions, since it is parallel to the plane of the picture. Faces 7, 8, 2, 8, 9, 4, 9, 7, 6, and 6, 7, 1. And then 1, 7, 2, 2, 8, 3, 3, 8, 4, 4, 9, 5, and then 5, 9, 6 complete the 10 faces directly visible to the eye. Points 10, 11, and 12 denote the other plane seen in true proportion. It is located directly opposite of 7, 8, 9. But hidden to the eye as are the 9 other planes indicated by the dotted lines. It can be seen that through pi, that is the divine seed, the icosahedron form. Drawing 9.3, within a sphere of equal radius to that of the previous drawing, indicate the icosahedron by its 12 points only. Draw all connections between the 12 vertices, committing all the diameter lines, that is, in brackets, the lines passing through the center of the sphere. It will be seen that from each point, a maximum of 5 rays, or AYS, can connect to opposite points. For example, from point 4, draw 4 to 10, and then draw 4 to 6, and then 4 to 7, and 4 to 2, and 4 to 11. In fact, 5 opposite points will define a exact pentagon plane, which is 10, 6, 7, 2, and 11, centered about a diameter line passing through point 4. Repeat with points 5, 6, 1, and 2, and 3, referring to drawing 9.2 as a visual aid. From point 8, draw rays 8 to 12, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, 8 to 1, and 8 to 11. Repeat with points 9, 7, 11, 12, and 10. This entire set of rays will intersect in groups of 3 rays at 20 points of intersection. These 20 points are the vertices which define a deca or dodecahedron, which is suspended, end quote, within the larger icosahedron. The 6 visible faces of the 12 are shown for visual clarity. The generation of the dodecahedrons arises spontaneously, that is, a result of the natural crossing of all the internal radiants of the icosahedron. These two figures are the inverse of one another. Both are composed of 30 edges. But whereas the icosahedron has 20 faces and 12 verticals, the dodecahedron has 12 faces and 20 verticals. Just it's the opposite, you see. The other was 20 faces, the other one being, and it was 12 faces, and it was 12 vertices, and it was now it's 20. Now, drawing 9.4 and 9.5, the establishment of the dodecahedron automatically gives rise to the cube, which the cube is actually, when we think about it, is in Mecca, in Saudi Arabia. And there's a cube also represented by the Judaism with their cube on their forehead. Defined by the 8 vertices of the dodecahedron, the edges coincide with one diagonal of each face. Visible are the top face, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the two side faces at 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 4, 5, 7. The diagonals of the faces of the cube form an interlocking or star tetrahedron. The star tetrahedron consists of 2 tetrahedron with points in opposite direction which are interlocked. The volume enclosed by the 2 interlocking tetrahedron defines a octa, which means 8, thus completing the common composite group of regular quadrahedron. Sorry, I butchered that word, didn't I? The cube is shown perfectly containing the star tetrahedron. Yes, it is. The octahedron, like the cube, the star tetrahedron, and the icosahedron, is seen in 2-dimensional perspective as a hexagon. Only the dodecahedron is not contained by the outline of the hexagon. Not only does the projection of the internal radii of the icosahedron form the edge of the dodecahedron, but reciprocal, the projected radius of the dodecahedron produces the edges of the icosahedron. This alternating projection of one form out of the other is only graphically indicated, that is in H and M, but is geometrically fact. Let me verbally, that is, what we have just experienced geometrically. If we connect all the internal vertices of the icosahedron by drawing 3 lines from each other, each one connected to it to the one's opposite, and then form the 2 upper vertices, draw 4 lines to the opposite ones, and allow these lines to converge at the center, we will, in so doing, form naturally the edges of the dodecahedron. This is a generation which happens by itself through the crossing of the internal radians of the icosahedron. Once we have established the dodecahedron, we can simply by using 6 of its points and the center form a cube. Simply by using the diagonals of the cube, we are able to form the star tetrahedron or interlocking tetrahedron. The intersections of the star tetrahedron with the cube gives us a perfect positioning to form an inscribed octahedron. Then, within the octahedron, using again the lines given by the internal radiants of the icosahedron, along with the points of the octahedron, there arises a second icosahedron. We have gone through a complete cycle through 5 stages, from seed to seed. This, then, is the infinite progression. If the cube is given the dimension of 1, then the side of the outer icosahedron will equal pi, and the dodecahedron will have a side length of 1 over pi. The interlocking tetrahedron will have a side of square 2. The octahedron will have a side of 1/4 to 2. And the side of the new, that is small inter-icosahedron, will be 1 over pi squared. A stunning constellation of harmonics, that is the Father, which means Purusha, has given birth to himself. The single key that one needs in order to start this drawing is the method of how to find the vertices of the first icosahedron. This is given to us on the radius of a circle. It is its division by 4. The Hindus envisioned the Purusha as the unmanifested, untouched by creation, just as in the drawing of the icosahedron, it is untouched by the other forms. The dodecahedron was then seen to be Prakti. See, this is talking about Purusha being the masculine and Prakti being the feminine power of creation, the manifestation, the universal mother. The quintessence of the natural universe. This dodecahedron touches all the forms of creation within her silent, observing partner. The interlocking tetrahedron is then seen as the yin and yang, again, masculine and feminine. For the tetrahedron is a volume of 3ness and is therefore a primary symbol of a functional accompanied by its reciprocal. The result of this harmonic interaction of opposites gives the cube symbolic of material existence, the 4 states of matter, meaning earth, air, fire, and water. But the cube and the interlocking tetrahedron touch the dodecahedron. At the heart of the tetrahedron is the octahedron, and as the cube is a formation of its extremities, the octahedron symbolizes the crystallization, the static perfection of matter. It is the diamond, the heart of the cosmic solid, the transformed and clarified lens of light. That is the double pyramid. The outer progression, extending into vaster and vaster realms, demarcates the same progression, the same genesis, icosahedron, the Purusha, generating the dodecahedron, the Prakti, and with the Prakti, the full play of manifested existence. The whole calculation is begun by the secret seed which contracts the circle, the infinite, undifferential spirit into the icosahedron. The seed is Phi, the fire of spirit. The transcendent principles, the icosahedron and the dodecahedron, Purusha and Prakti, the primal duality, each have Phi proportions, but when we arrive at the level of the natural world of oppositional dualities, yin and yang, and the cube of matter and its crystallization in the octahedron, it is the square root of 2, which is active. The square root of 2 is the way in which pi acts in nature. And from the octahedron, the purified state of matter, its crystallization into the mineral gem is reborn, the icosahedron, with its 5 dimensions, 1 over pi squared. This proportion of 1 over pi squared equals 0.382 is the geometric function associated with Christ. It says, see page 63. Being a square, it represents a manifestation form. The sun, S-O-N, and being the side of the inter-icosahedron, it is the incarnation of the exact image of the initial generating isohedron, the Father, Purusha, Anthropocosmic. So the mineral world expresses pure volumetric geometric with the greatest clarity. But it is important to remember that these solids do not exist in nature. In their perfect form, they exist only on a metaphysical plane as pure creative idealization and can be represented for the mind to grasp only through geometry. So there's a gypsum monoclinic system. There's a Barrett hexagonic system and a quartz triangular system. The Ido-Cras tetrahedron system, I should say tetragonic system, and the chlorite in quartz. So the stones represent this, you see. Purusha and Prakti are the eternal creative diatomic in Hindu mythology. Purusha is the anthropocosmic paradigmatic man or seed that projects Prakti, the eternal enchanting feminine, in order that her womb may give birth to his own embodiment in the world of form. Let's show that also in there, in this particular picture here. Let's go back here. So opposite here in the demonstration, the regular polyhedric are determined by 9 concentric circles, whose patterns gives all the necessary information for the construction of these forms. Each volume is in a simple harmonic relationship to the others, and it is in the same transcendent function, square over 2, square over pi, and pi, that make up these patterns of relationship. As in the previous drawing, all the volumes emerge simultaneously, but in this case, if one of the concentric circles is removed, then the pattern cannot yield the remaining volumes. This is the image of the great Buddhist idea of the co-dependent origination of the archetypal principle of creation. And it also has a picture here. A Kepler's version of the solar system was at one platonic solid within another. The radii of the intervening concentric spheres relating to the orbits of the planets. These symbolic volumes - forms symbolically reenact our cosmic history and perfectly represent the great movements whose meaning they convey. The play is that of the constant interchange between icosahedron as the male Purusha and the dodecahedron of the feminine Prakti. The icosahedron is the structure of 1, 2 verticals, that is 12 verticals, and 20 faces. It's a structure of triangles, 3 being the dynamic, quote, male, in quote, number. The androgynous dodecahedron, as giver of life, has 12 faces and 20 vertices, and is a structure of 5, the number of life. So in brackets, it says 3 with male plus 2 is female. The star born within is pentagon is the configuration of cosmic man, the perfecter of life, the golden proportion. These same 5 regular volumes are classically drawn in such a way that they are contained within 9 concentric circles, with each solid touching the sphere which circumscribes the next solid within it. This design will yield many important relationships and is derived from the discipline called Corpo, C-O-R-P-O, transparente, contemplating the shapes constructed of transparent material, placed one within the other. This instruction was given to many of the great men of the Renaissance, including Leonardo, Brunelleschi, I butchered that one, I'm sorry, Brunelleschi, and Giacogi by F.R.A. Luca Pacifi. Yeah, I butchered both his last names. Sorry, folks, the last 2 of those. Fra Luca Pacifi, the great Renaissance teacher of sacred geometry, the student concentrates on the transparent solids, was a discipline to assist in seeing the metaphysical realities beneath all appearances. There is speculation that in Hindu metaphysics, each one of the bodies was the symbol of one of the invisible subtle envelopes which were believed to surround and interact with the physical body of man. The tradition associates, that is, the small center isohedron with the ultimate perfection of the body in its physical manifestation. The octahedron with the physical or food body, that is the quote in seat of the instinctively mind, in bracket. The tetrahedron with the prana or energetic body, seat of the intuitive mental faculty. The cube with the mind-body of pure reason. The dodecahedron with the knowledge body, seat of innate knowledge by identity. The icosahedron with the blitz body, that of mediated union. And on these things, simply, this last part is what they call transpersonality. In conclusion, we may ask how the practice of sacred geometry helps us confront the profound questions of existence. What is the nature of spirit? What is the nature of mind? What's the nature of body? My individual practice of geometry gives this reply. The body is the most dense expression of mind, and mind is all the subtle extensions of body. And underlying this entire world, from the most dense to the most subtle, there is one substance. This substance is spirit, which has become entranced by the beauty of geometricizing. These refraction photos on the closest spectral visualization that science can give with respect to the nature of atomic substance, which appear to be patterns of geometricized light energy. So that is the end for the night, this particular chapter, which is actually the last chapter in the book, Sacred Geometry. It uses quite a bit of what we call the bibliography here, the Acts of John, the Apocalypse of the New Testament. It goes in a lot of things here. There's a lot here. He also uses Keith Crislow, which is what we call Islamic patterns. Also from him, Order in Space. Time Stands Still. This is from Gordon Fraser, F-R-A-S-E-R, from 1979. Forest Grove, I think it's Oregon. makes sense. I guess it's a publication there. Hindu Polytheism, Tobias Danzi, Number, the Language of Science. I will go on all these things. There's quite a bit of bibliography here. So, okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Again, this is a book called Sacred Geometry. I was encouraged by Phil Langdon to get into this and read it. So I appreciate you being here. I'll probably come back to it later on and do some more reading of it. But you can download this book if you want to. Just simply go to a place called, look up what we call welib.org. You can download the book for free. It's roughly 114 pages, but it has a ton of illustrations in this book. Unfortunately, I cannot show you those illustrations, which are all drawings of certain things here. Okay, so again, thank you for being here, and I wish you a good evening. Again, this is Robert Lawler, Philosophy and Practice, which is called Sacred Geometry. Wish you a good night. Take care.